This is Democracy Watch. So, Mark, we've got some major news here. Trump has effectively gutted the RNC, the Republican National Committee, ousting as many as 60 employees and replacing them with Trump loyalists, Trump sycophants. So, first off, we know what it looks like when Trump people try to run anything effectively or efficiently. So, is there a world in which this is actually good news?
Oh, I think this is great news. I think they ought to fire another 60 and then add another 60 to that. In fact, just clear the whole place out, Donald. Like literally, it ought to just be you and your family members and their bank account just wiring money to your lawyers, like every day. Like just empty out the staff, empty out their bank accounts, pay off Rudy Giuliani, just waste the RNC into nothing. Because you know what? You don't really need their money or their talent in your election. Those down ballot races, those people running for House and Senate, they didn't really want any RNC field operatives or their state parties to be funded. Just empty the place out.
I know you said this jokingly, maybe not, but can we expect to see RNC donations be filtered just toward paying Trump's legal bills?
Oh, I hope so. I hope they take all of the political money that would be spent on television ads, all of the money that would be spent on organizers, all of the money that would be spent on their lawsuits, the voter suppression lawsuits. I think they ought to take them all and invest in like Trump water and Trump steak and other like worthless Trump Chotskys, and then ship the rest of the money to Trump's lawyers. Because look, here's the end of the deal. At the end of the day, here's the deal. I'm fine with Trump's lawyers getting stiffed, but I'm also fine. I'd rather them get the money than Donald Trump have more money for his campaign. And so Donald Trump's grift will be the end of him. Donald Trump's grift is, we saw it throughout his presidency, him selling off, suites at his hotel to foreign dignitaries. We've seen him, all of a sudden he's flipped on TikTok. Now he loves TikTok because, he met with one of their big donors. And so I think we just go with it. Let him gut the RNC. Let him take all of the money, pay off his grift, and let him go into obscurity after Joe Biden kicks his ass again.
Well, if Trump does go ahead with this complete reallocation of funding, what are the downstream effects of that going to be for Republican elections across the country where, aside from Donald Trump?
Oh, I mean, the people holding a party right now for these firings and for the paying of RNC money for legal fees are people who run House elections, people who run Senate elections, people who run governorships on the Democratic side, right? Democrats are like, let's throw a block party, because the downstream effects is that if you are a Republican running for the U.S. House, you no longer get any money from the RNC. If you are a local state party or a county party who assumes that you are going to get a transfer from the RNC, because most of the money that these local parties and state parties get, or a big chunk of it at least, comes from transfers from the national parties. Well, if the RNC doesn't have any money to transfer to the North Carolina Republican Party or the Wake County Republican Party, you know who wins then? Josh Stein becomes the next governor of North Carolina. The big losers are the Republicans running in these state and local elections.
What is the benefit here? Because normally you would have two different entities, and you can derive the benefit of two completely different entities, intelligence from both of these entities. So you had the Trump campaign and you had the RNC, and so you can attack from both angles. And if you need more money toward Trump, then both of those entities could aim could direct that funding toward Trump. But if you need, if you have other politicians who need some help, then you can have the RNC focus on that while Trump campaign focus on him. By combining them, don't you just chop off one of your most potent limbs, basically?
Yeah, you also chop off the competent one. I mean, the Trump campaign is basically a bunch of 3-year-olds sitting in the corner eating lead paint chips. The RNC may be doing evil, but they are actually pretty competent, unfortunately, at a lot of the evil stuff they do. They are staffed with typically professionals who are professional at running and winning campaigns. And so it's not that they're chopping off one of their limbs, they're actually gutting the one part of the Republican infrastructure that is competent, and instead putting at its head now his daughter-in-law, who wants to take all of their money and pay his legal bills while they fire all of the staff. Look, here's the thing. The one thing I'll say for Trump, he begged Republican lobbyists to turn out in the DC primary. and he got 676 votes out of in a town with 700,000 people. It is clear to him what we've all known, which is that the RNC staff hate him. Republicans in Washington, D.C., they mock him. Republicans on Capitol Hill, you know, are disgusted by him, which is why in the secrecy of the voting booth, they all voted for Nikki Haley. And so yeah. I understand why he wants to fire them, but honestly, good. Fire the competent people, run all the money, you know, through your grifty businesses. As long as he's not the president of the United States in 2025, we can leave it to the criminal justice system to handle it from there.
Well, you just alluded to the RNC's new duo who's heading up the organization. That's Laura Trump and Whatley from North Carolina. So what was your reaction to these appointments in particular?
Well, look, I mean, what it shows is that Ronna McDaniel, who is willing to do anything to be on the Trump team, including
the fact that you called her Ronna McDaniel and not Ronna McDaniel Romney is a testament to that.
Yeah, I mean, she's willing to change her last name for the guy, but the fact that even she showed too much independence for Donald Trump's taste, that she was running a party committee that actually did some program, was too much waste in his mind for his taste, that he replaced her with his daughter-in-law and a guy whose calling card, and according to the press reports, is that he is a more committed election denier and vote suppressor than Ronna McDaniel. So, you know, that's what I think we are getting. We are getting the grift. We are getting the family patronage. They are firing the good people, but they're bringing in the election denying, true believing vote suppressors. So, you know, we're going to be facing a lot of them in court. We already are. We're going to be seeing more of them in court. And let's just hope that he spends they spend all of the money on Donald Trump's other legal bills.
Well, to that point, while the Trump campaign and its allies filed more than 60 cases in courts in their failed attempt to, overturn the 2020 election, the RNC itself only attached itself to about 4 of those cases. So what will this new makeup of the RNC mean for litigation moving forward in 2024?
Yeah, this is a really important point that you make, is that, in 2020, the RNC was still a separate organization from Donald Trump. Sure, it would mouth all of his talking points. Yeah, it absolutely was in the bag for him in terms of doing his political bidding and the like. But when it came to the election denying stuff, other than hosting, the press conference where, Rudy Giuliani's hair dye was dripping down his face and, Jenna Ellis was there and Sidney Powell was there. Other than that, they basically did not join in the worst of the worst. They were, as you say, only in 4 cases. I think that Donald Trump has had enough of that. He wants the RNC front and center in the election denier movement. I think he looks back and thinks that the RNC did not do enough in the election denial space in 2020. And Ronna McDaniel was the head of the RNC at that time. And he wants an RNC that is going to be all in election denialism and voter suppression this go around. And look, we've talked about this before. The RNC has been much more active in the last year in court than ever before. And that's because Ronna McDaniel has been trying to catch up to this train, has been trying to sort of catch up to but Trump keeps moving the goalposts, right? He keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And so I think for him, it was time for new leadership.
And to that point, for anybody watching right now, if you want to support Marc and the work that he and his team do, and especially as it relates to these efforts to subvert democracy, like what the RNC is about to do in court, please make sure to sign up for Democracy Docket. It's the free news outlet Marc founded to focus on everything voting and elections. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. So, Marc, to that exact point, will it be that the RNC is using what limited resources it has to engage in these efforts, and that might be a good thing, or is this going to be definitively a bad thing by virtue of bringing more of these cases with the heft of the RNC behind it?
Yeah. So look, I think it's a good news, bad news story in all seriousness. The bad news is that the only thing that Donald Trump wants the RNC to do is to pay his legal bills and engage in voter suppression. Right. So, I joke and say I'm all for him paying his legal bills because, honestly, it is bad for a sense of right and wrong that happens. But anything that makes him a less effective candidate in the long run is in the interests of the United States, is in the interests of democracy. But the bad is that, he is committed to turning the RNC into nothing other than programmatically, nothing other than a vote suppression operation. And I think that even the sort of faint efforts that you saw the RNC try to engage in around their bank your vote program, or mouthing the words that they wanted people to vote early, I think you're going to see all that disappear. I think that right now this is Donald Trump's party, and Donald Trump's party is about two things. It's about grift for Donald Trump, and it is about the big lie, and nothing else. And so all of us need to get ready in 2024 to be up for the fight that is against a grifter in chief and a vote suppressing organization that will do his bidding at every stage of the process, from registration to voting to vote counting, and hopefully not, but we have to be prepared for another violent insurrection when we come to certification.
Well, of course, I don't think it's lost on any of us how important the legal system is in terms of being a battlefield for this fight that's looming ahead of us. So again, for everybody watching right now, to support the invaluable work that Marc and his team do, please sign up for Democracy Docket. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.